Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to show you Accolyst ERP. You can see the login screen. You can use the default credential now to log in. Admin. And here you can see the dashboard. So here we can see accounting and inventory and administration. In order to start, we can use administration, masters, company settings. Here you can select your country in order to reflect the currency and all other settings or details you can fill here. Number of decimals, number of quantity, VAT number, if any. You can change the company name and logo. Anytime you can update later. The next one is the user creation. You can create unlimited user in Accolyst ERP. For example, you can type your employee name, description, employee type, and user role. And all other things you can fill if you want to, including image of this employee. Once you create employee, you can go to login user where you can give him the username and password. You can simply select user role, employee name, and you can type the username and password here. So if you have a supervisor privilege, you can enable supervisor as well. So next thing is you can give menu access right for this employee based on his activity. So you can enable whatever you need. For example, I just enable sales and written. So when you try to log in with his credential, for example, you can see what we are giving. Only sales and sales written without the dashboard, without report. So you can customize his entire screen. Let me log in back with admin. And finally, to start, you have to change the financial period based on your desired starting date and ending date. So as you can see here, you can edit the existing, you can increase, you can decrease, you can increase, the ending date you can increase to any extent. There is no limit. Once you edit, you can click generate month in order to list it here. Okay. Or you can simply start with the 1 year, that 1 year uh, financial period. So that is easy. Or you can create, for example, 24. Now you can create 25, 26 separate. How you can use, you can log out and log in order to open the previous financial periods. It will be listed here. You can also give more privilege to employee. Here you can see the settings, user settings, including the dashboard view and all. So you can enable whatever you need. You can lock depot editing, rate editing, etc. Even you can fix the discount limit for special discount, additional discount, multi-rate, and even the language you can select based on the user. Moving on, we have administration settings, module settings. So you can pick your modules based on customer requirement. And here we can see the general settings where you can enable all the basic settings for accounting inventory. Example, enable unit, multi-rate. You can enable unit if you want to, multi-rate, multi-currency, VAT, whatever you need, you can search here, including discount and all. Okay, sales order, purchase order, everything you can enable. Revise allocation. So all the basic settings you can enable by searching, or you can scroll down. So these are the global settings, which means when you enable one setting, it will be applied to all other connected system with the server. So we have decimal settings here, variable settings where we can make the pop-up of credit limit, sales rate less than purchase rate, negative stock, deal limit, etc. Display where you can change the user fields and system fields based on the transaction or product. Others where you can change decimal in reports, calculation methods, and reminders, SMS, WhatsApp, menu, shortcuts, uniqueness of your ledgers, etc. So these are the global settings we have. In local settings, here you can select your default settings based on the user. And finally, the color changing option. And also you can add email template other than Gmail if you can change the host and port. Counting inventory have masters, transaction, checklist, and report. So first one is master. You can create multiple masters in order to do the transaction like customers, supplier, bank, chart of account, product and group, branch, slab, etc. So let's open party. You can create your customer here. Let's say signature. So here you can use any language. You can change your keyboard language in order to fill in uh, the same in different languages. It is possible. You can fill the details, shipping details, transaction details like due days, day limit, credit limit, type of the customer, discount, VAT, etc. You can add, including image of your customer. So this is how you can create a debtor or a customer. Now let's try to create a supplier. Here you can create a supplier. Same structure here. Simply you can type your supplier name. Let's say apply to. You can fill the details just like that. The mandatory field is only code, name, group, and account. You can just type the name and the account will be automatic. Just like that, you can create your bank account if you want to do the transaction in card, check, DD, e-wallet, etc. Let's say bank 2. You can enable merchant account, you can fill the details and you can save it. So this is how you can create the masters of party, supply, and bank. So whatever comes other than these three, you can create it under chart of account. So by default, when you install the software, you will get the basic accounts and groups, their ledgers, etc. If you want to create new ledger under it, you can just create, for example, so this is a normal expense, transportation expense. I want to put it under, for example, let's say indirect expense and using other expense. So like, you can select other expense here. The groups will be here. You can see it. So this is how you can create custom ledgers. Any groups you can create. If you want to create groups under any main group, it is also possible. You can just type the group name and select the parent group here. So like this, you can create your custom ledgers, expenses, assets, liabilities, income, any kind. Product group, here you can create your products, different products. Let's say one, you can create under master, that's the main group. And if you want to create something under it, let's say subgroup one, you can either select master if you want it as a main group, or if it is subgroup, you can select the main group here. So it will list like that. You can also add image if you want to. Now let's open the product creation window. This is the product creation window. Code is there. You can change the code based on your user. Here you can use this as barcode. Here we have international barcode which hold 16, 13 digit code. Here you can type the product. Let's say product one. Description, you can change the keyboard language. You can add any language. By default, we have English to Arabic, so automatically convert based on the Google translation. So here you can select the group. Let's say subgroup. We already created group and subgroup here. Okay. Okay, let's change product 2. Product 1 is already there. So here you can use all these things like status, non-stock item, range, scale, etc. Stock levels can be set. Purchase rate. Let me use a default purchase rate. If I want to fix a sales rate like this, you can type manually or you can just use percentage, for example, 3% upon the purchase rate automatically calculates. And MRP you can change minimum sales rate if you don't want to sell this product below a certain amount for your employee, then you can fix it. For example, Let's say 12. This is the final price. No one can sell beyond this. Now you can use units. Units can be added, like for example, this product have pieces as base unit. So the base units rate we give here. Now if you want to add more unit like box pieces, or sorry, or the bigger units, so up to whatever it is, you can just type it here and you can mention number of pieces available in a box. Let's say 20. So software automatically converts, multiply with this the rate of the piece, and it calculates purchase rate and sales rate. Of course, you can edit the rate if you want to. You can add different barcode for this unit. It is also possible. Like that, you can add 4 different units. You can mention default units in chase, in sale, report, etc. User fields, you can add multiple user fields, text fields, custom fields where you can use for any kind of the product, like color or more specification on the product. It will be displayed in your invoice and also at the time of sales invoice. Of course, you can add image as well. Now, if you have multiple branches, you can use branch management system. You can enable branch management system. For example, branch management system. So if you're using in a cloud to host the software, you can easily access anywhere so that you can create your branches, different branches. For example, I already have main branch. If I have local branches, let's say branch one, remote location, maybe you can select it as a local branch under main branch. You can simply save it. So you can see under main branch, I have branch one. And also I need to create a depot for my branch. Let's say depot one under depot, and you can select your local branch. So you can transfer stock internally by using the depots. So like this, you can create different branches, and of course you can use which branch you need to log in at the time of. So here you can see multi-branch, branch one, etc. So we will give privilege for the employee who can log in which branch and all. So if someone log in with main branch, like management side, they can see all consolidated data, reports, everything, or split. It is possible. That's branch system. You also have more option in branch concept where you can enable it from the module general. You can search for branch. You can see branch wise locking. When you enable this, one local branch transaction cannot see another branch. So it will lock viewing of another branch. You can enable it if you want to do a specific, you know, privilege for your branching. You can enable filter branch in master, which one branch can only see their products, their party, their supply, all the masters. Another branch may have different one. You can enable this. So once you enable the, you have to enable or disable, or the specific branch where you can see the masters. I will show you an example. And if you want to maintain a different voucher series for your branch, it is also possible. User wise branch is there. Filter branch in sale history if you want to filter it, and branch wise analysis like project and cost center if you want to do in specific, you can enable it. It is also possible. So we have many more options here for the branch wise invoices here in sales invoice. So everything you can enable based on. Let me show you how we can do the branch master. For example, if you want to create anything like a product. So whenever you try to create a product, you can see branch details. If you don't want to show them in any particular branch, then you can disable. So whichever branch you need, you can enable that. Okay, so if you are creating something on the main branch itself, you can just enable it. Not want to show it in the branch one, you can disable it. Branch wise master filter. So it is possible to do it for any master like party supply. You can see the branch details here. You can enable it. So no other branch can see it. Not the transaction, it's only the master. For the transaction, you have to enable branch wise locking. Now about the cost center, I will explain the cost center. But the cost center and all, if you want to create a project and all, you can just use that for particular branch. It is also possible. And here we have more options. For example, branch-wise analysis for the project. You can see branch one, a particular project. I'm explaining the project in coming timeline. You can just watch it. Now you can select. So this particular branch only have access to this particular project or cost center. If you have cost center, you can select cost center as well. So like this, you can create and select. Okay. And of course, the user-wise branch here we can see it's yeah user-wise branch. Here you can choose your user. You can select which branch he need to log in. This particular user only need to log in branch one. So you can do all these things in branch in Accolyst ERP. And slab is here we can create VAT percentages. For that you have to create VAT. If you have VAT or tax, you can just enable VAT here. So for VAT, you can enable VAT basic. Now you can create your slab percentages. For example, I need to use manual code, for example, 01. Let's say like 5 percentage. Okay. You can create different percentages, no problem. You can select your financial period. Automatically it will pick. Now here you can give the actual value. If it is inclusive, you can select, you can change the calculation base. So default, it's taxable amount. So I'm saving it. So this is how you can create your slab. If you have different slab in your country, you can create just like that. Now, if you want to set it for your product, it's easy. At the time of product creation, you can simply use slab to select percentage. So in my case, I already created a few. Yeah, just edit slab. I can select the VAT percentage for both purchase and sale. So this is you can update. For each product, you have to select slab in order to reflect VAT at the time of transaction. So that's product creation and VAT. So we also have asset management system where you can enable it from the module. Here you can see asset. You have to enable fixed asset management system. So you have to create your asset here. For example, let's say machine one. So it have a code, it have a name, and you can choose which type of asset you need. If you want to add more in this, it is also possible. You can use master values. So as you can see, you can search your asset, let's say vehicle, or let's say, right. You can see all the assets which we already created. You have to create it under asset type. Let's create a new one. You can create something like say machine one or machine. Okay, machines. So you can select asset type here. You save it. It create a new asset under asset type machines. Okay. So with this asset type, let's create a machine. You can give the name of your machine. Here you can type if you require any serial number, if you want to mention any invoice number on your asset chase bill, then you can use, for example, SI. Suppose like this, you have to select whether it is fixed asset or movable or immovable. Okay, whichever you need, you can select. Okay, so as you know, when you check chart of account, here you can see assets. So here you can see all the assets including movable, immovable. You can create more group here if you want to create one new group. Here you can type your asset group, and here you have to choose whether it's fixed asset. Under fixed asset, you can create different groups. Based on that, you can select here. Okay, in my case, I'm selecting it's a immovable. Maybe you can select immovable or movable, whichever group you're creating. And if you want to mention if it is from any supplier in your software, then you can select the supplier. It lists all your suppliers. It is you don't want to mention any supplier name, just mention none. Now you can choose purchase date. All these are optional actually. If you want, you can select your purchase date. For example, I purchased it on January. Okay. the price of the cost of the product. Maybe you have to mention something like this, then you can just mention the price here. In the warranty period, if it have any warranty, you can just 1 year, maybe let's say uh, 5 year, 1 year, whatever it is, you can just mention it. Description. Here you can select the straight line or decline method. Okay. So here you can choose the percentage. Let's say 5%. Now you can mention whether it is in use, retired, or sold. Whenever it is sold, you can come again in this list and you can edit the information. You can mention it's sold. Once you select sold, you have to mention the end date. So in our case, it is in use. We are using it. Now, estimated life. You can just say 10 years or 20 years, whatever it is, you can select it. And the in-service date means after you purchasing, whenever you need to start the depreciation, in effect, like the installation of this machine. After you purchasing, you may took 1 month to install it. So after installation only, you will mark the depreciation, right? So you can select in use or in service date. That's in service here. So in my case, it's the same day. Okay, installed the same day, which means it start the depreciation from that date onwards. Now here you can mention your document name, like any warranty, something like that. You can just mention the name, the document number here, description, if any, issue date, and expiry date. Maybe it's for, let's say, something like this. You can select your expiry date of this particular document. So you can just add more remarks here. You can add, all the information, including the image of your document. And you can add if you want to. You can capture, you can scan, or possible. So let me select a sample document. Let's add an image. You can just add it. So you can create more documents if you want to for a single asset. It is possible. Once you're done, you can capture the image of your asset. Okay, I'm selecting the same. Now that's it. Save it. So this is how you can create an asset. So it have all the information. Now, if you want to depreciate it, you can go to the transaction, fixed asset depreciation. Here you can depreciate. You can select account, the depreciation account. Of course, you have to create the depreciation account if you want to start with the depreciation. Here you have to select, let's say it's a machine one depreciation maybe. Now here you can select depreciation. Here you have to scroll down depreciation. Okay. Now it create a depreciation account for your fixed asset. Let's say machine one. Ended by whoever handling the software or depreciation. Maybe it's a salesperson who are logging the user. No, you can select from which date you need to depreciate. For example, from January 1st to just doing 1 month. You can select 1 month, 1 week, 1 year, 6 months, whatever you need. You can select the from and to date. So I'm using January to uh, 31st. Mark. I'm just giving normal. Uh, so let's say depreciation done. Maybe something like that. Now you can choose the account. So if you don't know which group it is, you can select all. It is also possible. All asset will list, but if you have anything specific group, then you can select movable. In my case, you can just use fill the asset. So it will fill accordingly the machine, the date, method, the percentage, depreciation amount, etc. So it is also possible to import if you have bulk depreciation on your list, then you can just use import and you can choose the Excel. We have a different format for that. Now you can save it. It will reflect in the asset report as well. Now move on to the transaction side. We have transaction vouchers, journal, purchase, sales, inventory, etc. So let's start with purchase invoice. Here you can see purchase invoice. If you want something like purchase order, purchase estimation, and material receipt, then you can enable it from the settings, module settings. In my case, I'm enabling order, purchase order. I can enable purchase estimation as well. You can just type it here, or material receipt. So whichever you need, you can enable it here. Let's try now. As you can see now, it's purchase order, purchase invoice, material receipt, and it's written. Let's start with purchase order. Simply, you can select your supplier. There is voucher number you can change, the date, remark, all these things. You can select if you have multiple depot or branch wise, you can select. Now here you can type your product, scan your product. You can see the code, name, stock, rate, etc. You can select the product, the quantity, the rate. For example, I'm fixing order for, let's say, 150 quantity of this particular product. Let's say product 2, I want 300. I can see VAT and all. I'm just saving it. I can fill all the detail. Here we have miscellaneous. You can attach any document. You can type all these user fields if you want to, like remark, and you can save it. So that's purchase order. Now, if you want to call this purchase order into purchase invoice or material receipt, it is possible. So let's start with material receipt first. Just open material receipt. You can select your supplier name. Here you can either call from purchase and order. In my case, it's order. Let's supply two maybe. Be the cash account I selected. Yes. So cash account you can select here, or whichever supplier you selected, either cash or supplier, you can select it. Click order, you can see pending order here. You can simply call, you can select the product, or you can select all. Even you can customize the quantity. Out of 150, I'm just receiving 100. Okay, you can call it. You can see the edited quantity here. You can save. It will affect the inventory without count. So it is possible. You can just simply save. And later, you can call the same into purchase invoice for the final bill. This account, section 3, material receipt, you can select all and you can just convert it. This time, the inventory is already affected, so it won't affect in this purchase invoice, only the account will affect. So here you can add more details if you want to. You can use the remarks, reference bill, even you can make the payment from this time itself. You can just select the mode, etc., and you can just make the payment. For example, let's say it's e-wallet. I can select the bank amount, let's say 60 or 50. So this is the balance here. You can just make the payment. It is possible. Moving on to sales part, here you can see sale invoice, sales order, performer, etc. So let's just like a purchase invoice, you can make a sales order, you can call into sale invoice or delivery note, so upon your requirement. Select the product, the quantity, the rate if you want to. Let's say 20. So like this, you can use normal sales order. You can add more product and you can call it to sales invoice or delivery note. If you want a delivery note, then you can enable delivery note from this. Simply you can add, you can go with delivery note. Okay. This is not mandatory to follow the step like order, delivery note, something like that. You can go with any. Like if you want delivery note directly call to sale invoice, it is possible. Or you can start with the delivery sale invoice itself. No problem. So let's start with the sale invoice. You can select your customer, the depot. Now here you can select the product. Let's say 200. VAT will be there. You can even make the payment. These are the payment. We can select maybe partial cash. Let's say 100 cash and online banking. Let's say 110 or let's say 100. So scan is balance. We can collect it later. So here you can see miscellaneous. You can add more informations, all the text fields, attachments, 3 different attachments in each transaction. So you can save this. So we don't need any order or delivery note. Then you can start with the invoice itself. If you have any return for both purchase and sale, this is a sales return. You can select the customer, you can click on sale, and you can just select, you can edit the quantity, and you can call it to the return. So opposite entry will be passed, both inventory and account. So these are the features we have. Now we have POS. If you want a simplified billing, you can use either keyboard, or you can scan the product here with the barcode, or else you can use touch screen or to add. So like this, you can add, you can collect the amount, you can simply click the cash, you can collect it. You have cash drawer where you scale, payment option, hold, retrieve, price checkup, POS, report, even session management system is already available, POS. You also have options where you can enable from the module settings for the transactions like sales, purchase, etc. So here you can see the discounts. You can enable slab discount, special discount, and additional discount for both purchase and sales transactions. So you can here you can just filter it based on your sales, purchase. So we have three issues. We have sales type where you can create different types of invoices, and here you can enable sales estimation if you want one, and here you can select salesman by sales. You can check the report as well. Here you can select create product from sales transaction, create batch from sales transaction if it is branch oriented. So here you can select show supply in sales or service. Like if you want to bill in invoice, if you want to bill for your supplier instead of customers, you can just enable. So many more options here. Due days for receivables, like if you want to add due days for your bill, you can enable it. Update sales rate from sales invoice. If you can edit and update it, and it will update on your master. Okay. So amount editing in sales transaction, additional round off, party's name in sale invoice. So based on the requirement, based on your preference, you can enable your, you know, settings more in your transaction like sales and purchase. This is for sales section. Now here we have more option. Sales to employee. You can sell to your employee. The list will show employee as well if you enable this. So depend upon your usage, you can enable and disable your settings. Okay, you can see all these. Okay, so we also have a few options in settings. For example, this is for the purchase invoice. If you want, you can enable back for cost purpose. It is also possible. Here we have sales type. Here we have purchase receipt like free, estimation, etc. Due days for payables. It is also possible. Create new product from purchase invoice. Create new batch and opening stock. Everything you can enable based on requirement. So let's see what we have in common. Here you can see a lot of common settings. Here you can enable user voice branch if you're using user voice branch. So each user have their own branch. When they log in, they can only see that particular branch. You can enable that if you're using. Now supply was product is there. Disable graphing dashboard. If you want disable the graphic, and disable it for the common purpose, not for the user. For user we have different uh, and many more. So you can enable, and also if you want something like a serial number, if it is electronic items, if you want to mention serial number, you can enable serial number tracking, serial secondary serial number. If you have multiple serial number for the product, you can skip the serial number input and output if you want to. You can mention such a serial number, barcode, etc. So many more options here. You can just enable, and here we have any key search for the product searching, make it easy. And confirm window close, voucher deleting is the default we have. If you want, you can mention voucher canceling. It is also okay. So based on that, you can enable one by one. If you want to enable multi-rate for your product, you can enable that. Okay, we have item note, we have multi-currency, unit-wise rate, etc. And here we have product info tooltip and party info tooltip. And of course, we have project and cost center. You can enable it. Let me show you how it works. That's it. Now let's see what are the settings. So let's go with the transaction. When you open purchase invoice, you can see weighted average costing. If you want to use that, you have to do an invoice. Let's start with a new invoice. Just new purchase invoice. Let's say product. This is the purchase invoice where you can use 100 quantity. If you receive only free quantity, you can mention it. Let's say the rate. We have discount slabs which I enable. We have discount. You can just give the percentage or amount if it is a special discount. If it is additional discount, you can mention percentage here, amount here. It will reflect. It's a fixed discount. It automatically comes here. For that, you have to set it on your product master. Here you can see the product. You can see slab, discount slab. You have to create your slab first and you have to select the discount slab here. So it will list the discount slab and it will fix for the product. So anytime when you call the product into the purchase invoice, it pick percentage automatically. Okay. Now, if you have multi-currency, we have option. For example, dollars. So you can mention you already have home currency in your company settings. Okay. Now, if you want to give, in this particular invoice, it's from a supplier, a different country, you can mention the currency. So the exchange rate, you can fix the exchange rate if you want to, and this will be, the United States, the dollars. It shows in dollars, and here you can see the conversion, like it multiplied with 12, and it shows your local currency. Okay. It is possible. Here we can see the product info tooltip. As you can see, it shows all the information of your product, and also when you select, the supply and all. After all this filling, you can just save it. For example, let me add one more product. Give it 500 quantity. There is no free, no discount, nothing. I'm just saving it. And if you want to edit the rate, for example, if you market changed, usually it is 500. If it is 50 now, if that's the price you need to update, here you have to enable update purchase rate. It is also possible. And if you want to create new product, we have Control F2, or you can click add product. You can create new product, and it will add to the bill. So it is possible to create product here. And of course, if you have batch, if it is a food item or anything which is going to expire, here we can type batch number. For example, this is the batch number, and here we have a shortcut F5. It will open the batch. Now you can select your expiry date and manufacturing date of your product. So let's say it's and manufacturing date. Maybe first. That's it. Now, when you save the invoice, we'll save the purchase invoice, the batch automatically creates. So like this, you can create your product batch from the purchase invoice itself. And it is also possible to create supplier. There you can see you can create supplier from the transaction itself. And the shortcuts, if you are more with the shortcuts to the keyboard, it is possible to use shortcuts. Here you can see shortcut list. You can select, for example, for the purchase invoice, as you can see all the shortcuts here. If it is for the sales invoice, you can see all the shortcuts here. So based on that, you can learn your own shortcuts, and the shortcuts which we already gave, you can just use it. It is possible with the shortcut. Now this purchase invoice, let's say there is no payment yet. This is the amount. And if you want to move this, or if you want to update this cost of the product, so it's not just 145,000, it's more because we added more expense during this transit of this purchase invoice. It is possible. Either you can go with the WAC here, it automatically, call to the weighted average costing. Here you can just use WAC adjustment. So here we can add. So let's say I want to add some expense, and I have to calculate my cost of the product. So here you can just use. Maybe it's a transportation expense or anything like import, something like that. Let's say add 500. Transportation 500. If it have any VAT percentage, let me add that 5% here. 525, that's the total. So who is handling this expense? By yourself, you can select your cash or bank. If it is from your supplier, you can choose the supplier. For example, supplier one or any other creditors you can create. Okay. I'm selecting supplier. He handled my payment. I have to pay him. Okay. I can mention reference number, the voucher date of this particular transaction. So you don't need to do anything further. Just add the information and you can just save. If it's a different currency, you can mention the currency. Okay. For example, I'm just mentioning two. So this is in a different currency. The local currency will show here. This is the local currency you have to type. Okay. So if it is in different currency, you can mention it. It is possible. Okay. In my case, it's a number Saudi. Yeah. Okay. That's it. Let's add this in the back amount 525 in whole. Okay. For the total product import or whatever expense I handle. I can add more if I want to. I can add more. So here, if I need to update my cost, you can enable update back cost. And also here you can see the new, the local WAC. Or you can see the LC means the local currency, everything showing in local currency. Now, new sales rate you can see here, new purchase rate you can see here. The profit, everything you can just adjust if you want to. For example, if I need to change my new sales rate, okay, I want to add something like the margin in total. Here you can see 10 percentage margin. So it will add 10 percentage margin. I can add it's all optional. If you want just the cost and you want to close it, then you can close, no problem. Later you can update the rate in the product master or at the time of sale invoice. It is also possible, but we have option here. You can add margin. Now the new sales rate is this. Now you can update the sales rate. So it will split. Let me show you how it look like when you update all this. And if you want to set sales rate for the product from here itself, it is also possible. There is a button for that. Now, here we have calculation based on quantity and amount. In my case, I need quantity wise. If it's amount, it put the ratio for this splitting of this weighted average. That means the quantity is split based on the quantity we have. So when we save, it will update. So this checkbox is mandatory in order to update. So go back with the purchase invoice. Let me open the master's product here and speak the product. Now you can see for 50 and for 42, the average, back here. The rate you just a sample, you can just edit it. For example, it's 430, or I need to read, or no, sorry, 400 maybe. That was the purchase rate. And the WAC is 442.1. This is the actual cost of your product. So this will show you in all transactions. For example, um, for purchase invoice, when I try to select the product, here you can see the WAC cost. And so you can see the same invoice. When you try to select the product, you can see the WAC cost. Okay, so it is possible. View it that time. Now, about the multi-rate, if you want to add multi-rate for your product, for example, selecting the same product here, you can add multi-rates apart from the normal rate. So just click on multi-rate here. You can select multi-rate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whichever you need. You can rename it as well. If you want to rename it, you can go to the multi-rate step, search for it, select anyone, edit. Here you can see sale. Okay. You can just now I changed multi-rate one into wholesale rate. Like that, you can create. You can rename it. You can create new multi-rate if you want to. It is also possible. Anyway, let me select the multi-rate. Just want to reopen in order to reflect change. Let me open product again. And here you can just use multi-rate. Normal rate is here. Of course, the unit for this is also here. Now, multi-rate, you can give wholesale rate, or based on the unit, you can pick your unit if you want to. Now you can just give the rate. Normally, the rate for the product is 450. Let's say it's 400 because rated the back. So let's say it's 400. Okay. And the rate is, for example, the rate is 500. Okay. Now the 400 is for the purchase rate, but I can sell this like 390. Okay. If I want to mention a sales rate, multiple sales rate, I can add multiple sales rate as well, like 520. So like that, you can add more multi rates. The next one, two, three, four, five, you can rename it, you can add. And if you want to mention the minimum sales rate for this, for example, 500 and 10 is the minimum sales rate, or let's say you cannot sell it beyond below this, then you can fix a rate as well. Now the code of the product, of course we already have a barcode here. When you scan this, it will identify the product as the base unit like piece, and it shows the information of the basic rates there. But if you want to use a different barcode where you can scan the product and it identify different rate, then this is it. You can just use this barcode. So let me show you it in action in the transaction. For example, sales invoice or purchase invoice. So before that, if you're using multi-rate as your rate selection, then you have to change something here. If you select the rate calculation, it is a product, which means the master rate. If you select batch, it is batch rate. And if it is multi-rate, it is multi-rate. It will pick automatically. These three are the main method we have. The rest we have the option, but it is uh, temporarily unavailable. But these three you can use like batch, the normal rate, or multi-rate. So in entire company, whichever you're selecting, it will affect the rate calculation method. Let me open the sale invoice and pick the same product. Okay, now you can see the multi-rate option here. You can select the wholesale rate or whichever rate you need. It's 520 as you can see. You can change it in between. For example, when I select default, it have 500. Now, whenever I have like a wholesale rate, it have 520. Like this, you can use your product on based on the multi-rate. It is possible, or in purchase and sales as well. We also have other features like item note here. You can just type anything regarding with your product at the time of any transaction like purchase and sale. So you can mention the information. It will add. You can add the same information on your print format. So it is a live uh, remark or label or whatever you need to type here. Anything. It will list. It will show on your invoice. So we have item note, which you can enable it from the settings. Now we also have project or cost center, which you enable from the settings. You can see it here in the project and project status. So here you can create a new project. Let's say project one. You can mention the expected planning and ending, etc. Let me select it on 2026. Okay, expected. Okay, estimated cost. You can mention estimated cost here. The contact person. You can mention person name here and project owner. So you can mention whether it is your customer, you can select it. And the customer list, if you want to create new, then here you can create new customers or supplier. So it will list here. Project manager is from your side, your employee, you can create by using the plus button here. Let's say project manager one. Okay. Project manager by default is selected. The rest you can fill if you want to. In my case, I just need the name. Project status, on progress, on hold, open, whichever you need, you can just mention it. You can add notes as well. Now, attachments, if you want to attach anything like documents, images or PDF we can attach and create. So like this, you can create your project. Let me quickly create another project. For example, let's say it's 24, 5, one person, owner, it's a different customer. Now, project manager, open. That's it. So I created two projects here, project one and two. Let me show you how you can use that. So whichever transaction you're opening, whether it is purchase or sales, or journal entry, vouchers, inventory, whatever it is, you can simply open transaction. You can normally do the transaction. You can select, maybe it's from supplier, selecting the product, maybe this one. Okay. So this you are purchasing it for a particular project. Quantity and cost product, something like 500 quantity. So total this amount is for a particular project. If you want to assign this to a particular project, go to section 3, analysis, or press F5. You can see the analysis type. So this is the project. You can select the analysis type. Now you can select project one. You can mention all 100% it goes to this particular project. Then you can mention like that, or maybe 60 percentage goes to this. You can edit the value as well. Now you can select a different project if you want to. It is also possible. Here you can see percentage 40. So I split the same amount, the bill amount, into two different projects, or two or more. If I have more, I can split it based on the percentage or value if you want to. Now you can just close it. So when I save it, it will reflect the report of the project. Now, any transaction, whether it is a journal entry or purchase or sale, you can see the same. For example, if it is journal entry, you can see analysis. You can split it, the total. So like this you can do, and the report as well. Let me show you the quick report of project. Here you can see project report. We have three type of report: transaction wise, maybe project one alone, only 1 week; transaction wise, or certain liability wise, or income expense wise, whichever you need to view this, you can see. So if it have more transaction, you can see a report as well. Now, if it is asset and liability, I just made the purchase. So here you can see the information, asset and liability. Now, income and expense. So you can see the information. So apart from this dedicated report, you can use any common report to show the project. For example, if I check a sales report, maybe. So all report we have the filter option analysis wise. So when you select the project, it shows the information based on that. Now, if you want to check your financial report, like trial balance or balance sheet, maybe the P&L. So you can use analysis wise. You can select project. You can select. So like that, you can check any other report as well. Now, we have other options in the transaction like the history. For that, you have to enable the settings, user settings. So you can enable, histories, purchase order history, estimation order history, or if it is transaction itself, you can enable purchase or sale history here. Now, let me show you how it works. Let's say a purchase invoice, let's say a sale invoice maybe. So you have previous invoice, you sold this to this customer, the product having rate 200. So 1 week later or later, after this invoice, the customer came and you are selecting the same product, and you can see when you reach your cursor on here, you can see the history as well. So it is possible. So it shows the customer and previous invoices. So you can check and you can just edit the rate if you want. It is possible in purchase as well. And we also have a shortcut where you can use the same in a different way. When you press Control F9, you can see a different window, the same but detailed. Here you can select your product. So if you don't want to show it a particular customer, then you can clear it. Okay, you can see everything like This particular product goes to which customer or supplier, everything, purchase history and sale history in same. So if you want to change the product, it is also possible. If you want to specifically select any particular customer, you can select it. It shows the information. For example, supplier, you can select supplier one, shows the filter option. So you can filter based on both supplier party or product purchase and sale history. So this one is automatic. When it reaches to the cursor on the quantity or here, it automatically shows the history, or you can use F9 shortcut. The shortcut is on the shortcut list. You can check Control F9. It is possible for the histories. Now let's go for a different option called budget. So if you want to create a budget, you have to enable budget from this. Just type and select budget here. Enable. Once you enable budget, you have to create your budget from the master. Let's say 2025. So you can select the end date and start date. For example, January 1st to 31st December. Now you can select any group, account group you want to set the budget. For example, in the case, let's say expenses. It shows all legendary. Okay. Now you can give, you can edit the value of each, or you can just give a total amount. You can split it. For example, 5,000 allocated, 2,500 for this, 2,500 for this. So you can also attach a project for this, project wise. It is possible. Now save it. You can see budget. I just created it. Now you can also enable the settings in order to show you. For example, here you can see variables. Now budget exceed. What happened in the budget exceed? You can ignore if it is zero. You can one. If it is one, you can see the key points here. If it is blocking, then you can just do it. So like this, you can use. So whenever you try to do the budget, if it is exceed, it shows uh, a warning. Moving on, we have vouchers where we can receive advance, cash, bank reconciliation, etc. Let's say cash receipt. Let's do a quick receipt. So if you want to add a cashier, it's simply you can add your cashier here. Let's say cashier one. It is mandatory, so you have to create your employee so that software will track who made the payment here. Let's select the customer. Let's say customer one. You can click on allocation button here in order to see all the pending invoice. So few of them are already paid like partial. So you can make the payment like if you want to receive entire amount, you can enable it or select it, or you can edit it, no problem. So this is a manual selection. Or if you want to allocate a certain amount, let's say 10,000, and you can allocate it, what will happen? It will allocate like first in, first out. Okay, it will allocate the first bill, the balance for the second, etc. So like this, you can select bill wise, so the bill wise balance report will be reflected. So that's cash receipt. The same you can use for cash payment. We have advance allocation. You can allocate advance if you want to. We have bank receipt and payment. For example, let's say bank receipt. So instead of simply selecting the cash account, you can select the bank, you can select the customer. As it is bank, you have to use instrument type. It is mandatory, as you can see, different instrument type. For example, check, you can give check number, the check date, like post-dated check, you can select post date. In my example, I'm selecting the current date so that you can see the demo. So check instrument status. If it is submitted already, you can select, or cleared, you can select. If it is a post-dated check, you can select none here. And the normal scenario, you can select the burst of payment. You can say this is the bank receipt. You can see bank payment, the same structure. And finally, you can use bank reconciliation. So you can show your transaction. It's a future transaction, maybe. Bank one, select all. You can see all these details. So this check is on its date. Then you can just use cleared, submitted, bounce based on your requirement. It is possible to do the bank reconciliation here. Now we have contra voucher. You can do branch to branch or cash to cash, bank to cash. transaction. You can select it and you can just make a payment by selecting this cashier. So it is possible to select multiple branch transactions using counter voucher. Now we have journal entry. You can do normal opening balance, journal entries. You can select, for example, let's say cash account. I'm just adding a capital. You can create different capital account if you want to by using chart of account, or simply you can click add account here in order to open the chart of account. You can create, you can just add like this. So simply you can use journal entry and it will reflect in reports. We have debit note and credit note as well. Finally, the inventory side, we have inventory transaction like opening stock, excess, shortage. Like if you want to custom your physical stock, you can use excess in order to increase from the software. You can decrease it based on the physical stock. We have damage option. You can do damages for the product, maybe return damage and all you can use. Simply, you can just open, select your product, and you can mention the quantity and the cost of the product. You can save, it will be a loss for you. So like this, you can update your damage of any kind of inventory. Stock transfer and receipt available. If you want to transfer from one depot to another, like one branch to another, you can select it and you can select the product if you want to transfer. Let's say the quantity is the cost, save it. Now, the other branch, they can log in their username with their username and password. They can use stock receipt. So they can select the depot here, can click stock transfer. They can see all the pending transfers. So they can receive. It will increase their stock in their inventory. So you can use branch to branch or depot to depot stock transfers by using this. Bundling option is available, like we can use production, small production. If you want to make a product, for example, this one, like let's say 100 quantity, you can consume the local products like product two, like let's say 50 quantity. If you have more, you can add. So this is how you can create a bundle, instant bundle of production, let's say. Material issue for internal purpose and its return. Stock adjustment. If you want to use both excess and shortage in a single screen, this is it. So you can select your product group. You can see all the products available. You can customize, for example, the actual stock and physical stock. Based on the physical stock available in your inventory, you can update. For example, I'm updating it as 100, 500. So here on this particular date, my particular product stock will be 500 instead of 4,000, sorry, 496. So this is how you can use stock adjustment, both excess and shortage in one screen for easy. So these are the transactions we have, and we have reports, final accounts, report, daybook, cash book, bank book, etc. Let's say a cash book. You can filter based on branch, cash account, etc. All. Let's say monthly. You can select month, or you can select the period as well. So you can see all the receipt and payment here, the balance as well. Like this, you can check other reports. We have, you can check sale invoice. You can filter based on this detail, consolidated, etc. You can select the month and you can preview it. It also have drill down option, double click and you can see the origin. Here you can send by email. You can send any report by email. You can type the email ID here, and the center email ID is on your company settings. You can add email and password. And also you can export into Excel, PDF, or Word. And yes, you can customize any report. You can simply click the design button in order to open the report builder, and you can customize your own. So like you can move, you can delete any column, you can add more graphics, more fields. For example, yeah, party balance here. Simply you can customize your report. We also have other reports like file balance, balance sheet, P&L, statement of account, vouchers, purchase related, sales, inventory related report. Let's say inventory stock list. You can select all. You can preview your entire stock in one screen. You can see the units, rates, group, etc. Moving on, we can use other reports like returns, aging report, returns, tax report. We also have other reports like bill wise balance report, profit report, daily summary report, cash flow, fund flow, audit log, etc. Let's take the daily summary report. Here you can just select the summary report. Very helpful for the management. You can see everything in one screen. All cash in, cash out, bank opening, closing, etc. Cash credit, whatever we collected, you can see here. Other than that, we have administration tools where you can take backup and restore as it is a desktop application. We have apply rate, discount schemes, invoice designer where you can design your invoices, print format. Simply, you can select your invoice. You can set the format and go to the file location, the software. For example, you can go to the file location and you can use in a print format, mass format. Here you can select your invoice or any transaction. You can set the format. You can select the printer here. If you want to set typewise printed, then you can enable typewise. You can select cruise report as well. It is also possible. So like this, you can set the format and you can preview it. So let's preview it. Before that, let me enable print preview. Now let's take preview. I'm choosing my previous invoice and I can save it. Sorry, print it. Sample invoice, you can see. You can modify to any size, A4, A5, 3-inch, 4-inch, any kind. It is possible. So this is a default format. We also have barcode designer where you can design your barcode. For example, you can open the designer and you can fix your design. You can add more information of your product name, the rate, whatever you need, you can just bind it here and you can simply generate. You can select the printer and all the sticker size and all, you can print it. Or you can simply use external designer or crystal report as well. We also have Excel import. If you want to import master data, only master data we can import, including opening stock and opening balance. So you can import part supplier, party, product, group, product, etc. Simply you can select the product, and if you have a template, you can simply select it. Let's say product, get field. You can see all from the software side, and here you can select each column from Excel. So you can select whatever you need and you can import. So all these have different templates. These are the templates. You can create Excel based on this side and you can just import it. We have graphs, document attachment, all these things you can use based on the privilege. Only admin can handle or whoever having this administration privilege, they can use all these things. Also, we can change our interface language into these. For example, if we want to make everything in Arabic, yeah, Arabic and interface language will change into Arabic. All the menu, submenu, everything. And also, if you want to type in Arabic or any language, it is easy. You can add your keyboard language and you can just type it anywhere. It is possible. Changing back to English is easy. Just select it and read out. So that's it for the overview. Thank you for watching.